All right, we got a large earthquake in California. We got coronal holes. We got low solar activity. And we have laughter at big tech and other YouTube channels. We're going to waste zero time because we're getting started so late. So here we go. Here's the sun at 193 angstroms. And solar disk is dominated by a plage just rotating out of the Earth-facing region, as well as a large north of the equator coronal hole, which is practically connecting to the north solar polar field coronal hole. So lots of stuff going on during times of very low solar activity. So part of the reason why this channel exists is because of solar minimum. Here's a 304 angstroms view. And we do see some filaments rising on the east, although generally just very quiet. Let's look at magnetic field lines. Actually, scratch that. Magnetic field lines are not working. So if you look at this, you'll notice, I guess I got to click it 4 times to get it to work once. For some reason, the potential field strength lines are back from the 28th of June. So if you're looking at field force lines, folks, ignore that. Now let's look at the earthquake. 7.1 in Ridgecrest, California. So check out the watchers.news for the article on that. Some damage was sustained. Some gas lines are leaking. Some injuries have been reported. Anyway, there's the tensor in that region. And we covered the 6.4 2 days ago. Largest quake in that area in over 20 years. Let's look at the real-time solar wind. If it loads. So we see no coronal hole associated phi angle here, although back here it was, which is when the earthquake occurred. Solar wind density just ramped up from below 1 to about 2 protons per cubic centimeter, as the solar wind speed has ramped back down to a low level. 362 kilometers per second is a slow solar minimum style wind speed. Here's a location of your planets. There's where they'll be in 1 week. Saturn opposition is on the 9th. Here's a stereo A coronagraph. We're going to look at all data, at least all the most recent data, because we have 2 giant plasma plumes that are facing right toward your backyard, which is out here. And those are kind of remaining steady, although there are some pulsations happening. I would also note the 10.7 centimeter radial flux is back up to 68. That is a solar minimum number. We like it better than 67. So here's where stuff is over my head right now. Civil twilight's occurring as Saturn sets and Venus rises. If you have a low horizon at this time of day, go out and take a photograph of that planet as she rises over the horizon on the ecliptic. in-the-sky.org is where you can make your own star chart. Check out the synoptic map. Large coronal hole north of the equator causes the earthquake risk to continue. So even though a large one happened in California, earthquake risk carries on for the rest of the planet. Let's look at magnetosphere movies, as we see an utterly weak magnetosphere due to a very, very low solar wind. Now we're going to see this pop back up at the very end of the video. Very low solar wind density there, as noted by the white colors. So you see the more dense regions there are noted in blue, low density regions noted in white. Again, this is from the Space Weather Modeling Framework. And there you see it pops back up a little bit at the end. Extremely weak pressure here due to that weak solar wind. So you're going to see by the end of the video, this is going to pop back up. Don't be confused, folks. The magnetosphere is not gone. It's just low magnetohydrodynamic pressure. And let's move on before we're old and gray and talk about ground geomagnetic perturbations. For those new viewers out there who are not aware, we've got a North Pole over here, and we've got a North Pole over here, and we've got a South Pole up here, drifting into the southern Indian Ocean. So we don't see very many perturbations here, but the pole shift, excursion, flip, whatever you want to call it, continues. Please support the channel via Patreon. And we've just put up an MP3 for our patrons. Now, there's only one tier on Patreon, which is $1, as we're trying to gain more viewers as we study things like the emerging unified theory of physics. Some of the posts on here are for everybody, and some are only for our patrons. So if you're not familiar with our mission, the mission is to assist, study, and report on the ongoing formation of unified theory of physics, to raise the awareness of the general public of the relationship between space, weather, and Earth effects. Welcome to space. To connect and consult with media organizations to multiply our reach. To demonstrate cutting-edge proof-of-concept solutions to problems. To publish scientific papers in a multidisciplinary manner, including but not limited to sciences such as spectroscopy, chemistry, astrophysics, health and wellness, longevity, cosmology, biology, magnetohydrodynamics, geology, etc. Also to assist mankind by advancing the study of predictive phenomena in order to optimize value and reduce risk and liability and save lives and resources and adapt no matter what the adversity is. And lastly, to not be ossified in our beliefs and to treat those who are with love, respect, and inclusion to the scientific discussion. If you're into CBDs, also support us via the links in the description below this video, such as our Hemp Lucid Spaced Out campaign. Whole plant CBD and hemp seed oil, 1,000 milligram, is still on sale, 30% off, and that's a lot of money. So check out those products, Hemp Lucid. Also check out the veloshop.net, the bike racing team. And if you want to be on the jersey, please email me at smAsho@gmail.com. And if you're interested in bike shopping, well, go shop for a bike at theveloshop.net. Now, if you're interested in how good our racers are, well, here's a post from another pro cycling team known as the Pickle Juice Pro Cycling Team, headed up by Colleen Gulick. Shout out Colleen if you're watching the video. Now, you notice the Velo Shop /LWA Racing from Emmaus, PA, Kimberly Geist, just finished third in the National Championships Women's Omnium, which is the overall track racing. So anyway, follow us on Instagram also to see more interesting stuff like this. Just keep in mind that the Instagram channel is not only about space weather, it's also about things like stag beetles, like this dude here. Check out the stag beetle. Looks like it is certainly ready to bite your finger off. Well, thanks everybody supporting the channel. We appreciate it. Please follow us on other social media also if you see fit. Check out the music. We got original music here on soundclick.com/goldencap productions, as well as SoundCloud. Again, links in the description. Check out NASA's All-Sky Fireball Network. Links in the description of this also. which consists of 17 cameras, 6 of which are placed in North Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee, North Carolina, and Northern Ohio, Pennsylvania area. I would note the thermosphere is pretty cold, but not as cold as it was in 2009 and 2010, especially 2009. So if you think the planet's warming, I don't know what to tell you. It's not. X-ray flux is totally flatlined, despite an active plage facing the planet. And we see some fluctuations in the solar wind here over the past day or two. Ghost magnetometer is looking pretty spiky. We are expecting some perturbations in this in the next 24 hours as the sector boundary crossing happens yet again. KP index has given us the finger, currently at 1, down from 2. That coronal hole wind stream that hit yesterday was weaker than expected. Electron flux has finally ticked up a little bit, still very low, as noted here. No charging hazards. And the F2 layer is extremely discharged all the way around the planet. Check it out, only 7 megahertz on the daytime side here, and very discharged on the nighttime side. Ionosphere as almost as discharged as we ever see it, and I mean ever. So again, solar minimum conditions drag on. Aurora forecasts are minimal. And let's continue on here and keep this video as short as possible. Here's the Gong 2. We will be crossing into the South Pole oriented field here. Probably going to take another day. Chances are tomorrow we'll still be in the North Pole oriented portion of the heliosphere. We are talking about the current sheet, folks, as the sun is spewing out a sheet of plasma in a spiral all the time. If you weren't aware, watch the rest of our videos. We cover it on the daily. Check us out on other social media like Twitter, twitter.com/smashomash, facebook.com/smashomash, gab.com/smashomash. Minds, the open source social media that will not censor you. Also, please subscribe to this YouTube channel, as it is the main location of our content and the main location of our shadow banning. We are no longer endorsing any channels, by the way, because they don't endorse us. So check it out. Here's the earthquake. That's that 7.1 near Ridgecrest, California. Let's zoom out and show you where it was, as a ton of quakes have happened around that region in the past couple of days. Zoom out, and that's a location of that quake. Let's look at the last 24 hours in full. And it's going to be a long list, as we see a 5.4 in that same location. And this map is extremely fickle. All right. And let's roll down the list as quickly as possible and keep this video as short as possible. All right, so we see a 4.6 in Indonesia, 4.9 in Indonesia, a 4.0 at Alaska at depth, heads up in the Aleutian Islands, even though there's probably basically nobody there for a larger quake at the surface. There's that 5.4 in California, right near the 7.1 magnitude quake we saw. What was that, about 6 hours ago, 7 hours ago, let's say. 5.1 south of Australia in kind of an odd spot there on the plate boundary between the Australian plate and the Antarctican plate. 4.1 at California, and there's going to be a huge list. 4.7 off the coast of Canada. Check the location of that one. And we have seen an uptick in this area northwest of Vancouver Island. I hope that's the right one, because the list of earthquakes is huge today. Son of a. All right. And I have no idea where I was. I'm just going to go up the list from where I am here. By the way, this one here Notice the depth. The depth is at -1 kilometer. So this is 1,000 meters above sea level. Possibly an indication of magmatic activity. And is there a volcano there? Please leave a comment if you're familiar with the volcanology of the region. I would note also that this is underneath the China Lake. I believe it's a naval test range. Anyway, let's not dwell on the fact. All right, this is a serious list here, folks. I would recommend checking out the USGS site yourself because this is too many quakes to cover. Again, there's that 7.1. Let's see what we see that's not in California. 5.5 there, a significant aftershock. 4.9, a significant aftershock. 4.1. Lots of stuff on the list. If you're in Ridgecrest, please leave a comment. And I am about to take this mouse and hit it with a sledgehammer. California, 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 California. How about a 5.3 at Kamchatka? And how about some more California as this piece of crap website that barely functions clicks on things that I didn't click on? What do you think you are, USGS, social media? Anyway, lots of quakes, lots of quakes. Here's a 5.2 at the Pacific Antarctic Ridge. Don't get blinded by the light, folks. We're going to get down the list here if we can get through the 6,000 quakes that just happened in California. Here, I'm exaggerating to make a point, by the way. Here's a 5.0 at Fiji at the surface. Here's a 4.8 at Fiji at the surface. Instead of like 500 kilometers deep where we've been seeing most of the quakes there. How about a 5.5 at Papua New Guinea? Not too far away from the last quake at Fiji. As quakes continue to roll in California, please leave a comment if you think the quaking is done. And we've got just too many on the list here to cover. Here's a 5.2 at Kamchatka. Massive, massive, massive earthquake uptick at California. And we're going to try to get through the list here. My finger is ready to freaking fall off, folks, as I'm clicking and clicking and clicking. I'm going to ignore that 4.6, as people are probably laughing about it by now. All right. I'm not going to change the settings because the settings are a bitch on USGS. And I try not to mess with them because I can't stand the site. Let's move on to more stuff. Here's the pressure maps, courtesy of windy.com. If you don't have their mobile app, well, we suggest you get it, as it is super good. In fact, I think it's even better than their web emulation. Volcano rundown. Stromboli. Activity remains intense, but typical. Explosions and near continuous spattering going on. Please do not do a headstand on the caldera of Stromboli. You may become part of the atmosphere. Shivaluch, explosive activity continues. 15,000-foot ash plume there. Mount Manam back on the list with a 20,000-foot plume there. Mount Ibu, 7,000-foot plume there. Sangjiang Api in Indonesia, exploding. 15,000-foot ash plume there. Dakono, 7,000-foot plume there. smAsho in the Aleutian Islands. smAsho. Man, that's a Russian name, isn't it? New addition to the list located in the Aleutian Islands. It's been upgraded to code yellow. Popocatépetl producing a 20,000-foot plume down in central Mexico near Mexico City. Fuego, volcanic ash detected in satellite. Revenador, 16,000-foot plume at Revenador in Ecuador. And Sabancaya, please do not attempt to do the Fosbury flop over that, as it's producing a 27,000-foot plume of ash. Here's the U.S. Doppler radar. Kansas and northern Texas getting hit again. Check out lightningmaps.org if you hear thunder above your head. It will tell places like Amarillo and Canyon that there is thunder rolling in. And yes, this site will attempt to show you the estimated sound waves. Here's the situation in water vapor going on over the Texas stovepipe. And let me take a moment to welcome our viewers. Thanks for tuning in, everybody, and thanks for taking the time to leave a comment. Let's also look at this spot here in the Gulf of Mexico, just for an added bonus. Now, my mom lives in Oviedo, Florida. Shout out Mothra if you're watching the video. You're probably not. But there are some oddly rotational systems. Low pressure systems try to rotate counterclockwise in the northern hemisphere, folks. And we don't see any of that. All we see is a bunch of odd convective patterns and nothing resembling a jet stream. Here's a tropical tidbits 250 millibar wind. And this is from yesterday, July 5th, through, I don't know. Anyway, it's a long GIF. And the point is, the Earth barely has a jet stream right now. Northern hemisphere is governed by convective forces instead of reliable winds. And the southern hemisphere looks like it's following suit. Welcome to the That is an Ass, and that is a hole in the ground, vulgarity-free section of the video. Let's use it in a sentence. While viewing YouTube, you will find a lot of crappy, ridiculous, nonsense-filled,
ostentatious
channels. YouTube is full of
ostentatious
channels that are full of crap. I'm not going to tell you which ones, but it's depressing to see how ignorant they are. Send us a message on Patreon. Maybe we'll tell you which channels are ridiculous. Or send an email to smashomash@gmail.com. We don't want to tell you publicly about which channels equate to a
planet
of BS. Speaking of BS, big tech is full of crap. So this one goes out to Google and Facebook and Apple and Twitter and other big tech fools who think you can break the internet. Dear big tech, you can't break the internet. However, the internet can break you. Jeff Bezos is still the richest man in the world despite giving up $38 billion in Amazon stock. Mackenzie Bezos is now one of the richest women in the world. In fact, I think she is the richest woman in the world. Please leave a comment if you have a list. She's got more money than Oprah, thank goodness. Maybe she's going to run for president. Would you vote for her? I don't really care, but if so, please leave a comment about that too. As it affects our analytics, as if we care about our analytics and Google's nonsense. Anyway, Jeff is expected to maintain his majority vote as Mrs. Mackenzie, although I guess now her name is Miss Bezos, has said she would give him voting control of her shares. Now, I give Amazon a pass. I don't complain about Amazon like the rest of big tech because Amazon actually provides products. Now, you could argue and say that Apple provides products. And I would say that Apple provides a very, very expensive label similar to an Izod golf shirt, and that it is the worst value in the history of computing. This video is about over, so thanks for tuning in. We're going to skip cosmic rays, and we're going to skip transients, and we're just going to go back to the sun. We're going to look at it at 94 angstroms, and then we're going to exit stage left like Huckleberry Hound. Huckleberry Hound? Is that a thing? Not sure. Anyway, thanks again for leaving comments. Please support the channel via the links in the description. Open up your moth-filled, cobweb-encrusted wallet and send $1 per month to the channel to receive things like original music on Patreon. And when you're staring at the sun, remember not to drink. But if you do drink, don't drive. And since it'll never be now again, may the solar wind be at your back and the atherosclerosis absent from your veins.